This is Donnie Smith, and in this video we're going to go over the process of primer, sealer, base coat, and clear coat. This is a long video, and video quality is not that good. I did it with a GoPro kind of going around as he's shooting the car. But what we're doing is we're going to shoot primer, sealer. We're going to put one coat of that. We put 2 coats of base coat. This is waterborne base coat. And then we're going to come back with clear coat. And if you just kind of want to pick up some techniques, that's kind of what I'll be talking about in this video. You know, just as he's spraying, I'll be touching on things that hopefully will help you improve your spraying technique. Now, every paint has an overlap. You'll see this sealer, most solvents are 50%. If you're shooting House of Color, sometimes they are a little bit different with their solvents, but generally 50% overlap. And what that means is that you go over each pass 50%. You know, so you're going to overlap that previous pass by half, you know, with this solvent. And I generally, when I'm teaching, I tell you to generally start out with your spray gun a little bit further away than normal, and you know, usually like 8-10 inches, you know, starting out. And as you become more familiar, you can get closer. But the reason I do that, if you're painting 6 inches away from the surface and you hesitate just for a second, or you snag your hose, you're going to have a big run, you know, when you're painting real fast and real close. But so I recommend, you know, about 8 inches away from the surface, and then, you know, as you get comfortable and you get the muscle memory that it takes to paint, you know, then you can move closer. Now, that's one thing I want to talk about, though. If you are moving closer, if you are closer, that means you're going to have to move faster. And that's one of the things that we really have to work on when someone's learning to paint, is getting your distance and speed right. For example, if I'm leaning over a hood, you know, I might not reach that as good, so I'm going to have to slow down, or I'm going to have to get further back to get the correct coverage, and that means I'm going to have to slow down. So that's just something your muscle memory. I mean, they say you have to do something so many times before it's just you know, natural to you. And then whenever you get good at it, you'll leave, you know, I know I'll switch arms a lot, you know, paint with my right and left, you know, depending on where I'm at, and maybe to get the coverage I need. But you know, that'll all come. But for now, just worry about your distance and your speed and your overlap. You know, that's the first things to master whenever spraying. So he's going around this car with this coat of sealer. Now, what primer sealer is it helps the color hiding. You know, it helps hide, you know, everything that's underneath this paint or this primer. I mean, we got primer spots, we got old paint surface, and if you use primer sealer, you know, it helps give it the right background coating whenever you go to apply your paint. You don't have to use primer sealer. Some people don't, but it does allow you to use less paint, and you know, the primer sealer is going to be less expensive than the paint. So you know, I think it's a good idea to always use primer sealer. Plus, it does help with adhesion and rock chips and things like that too. But it's not something that you have to do. Another thing I'd like to mention right now is you know, be sure that you prep the car right, that it is sanded, there's no glossy spots, and that you cleaned really good. I mean, this takes a lot of cleaning. You can wash it and wipe it down, and then after you mask it, be sure and wipe it down again to get any fingerprints off, because that can cause some problems. So we've done all that already before this video. I'm just going to kind of mainly go over the spraying techniques, but I did want to mention that. Okay, now he's getting around this car. Notice that he's kind of following a sequence. You know, he's kind of going around the car. So you kind of want to paint from top to bottom. So for example, if he was painting the roof of this car, he would start at that point and kind of work down his panels and kind of follow the same sequence. So that just kind of helps keep a wet edge, so that, you know, especially when you're painting your clears, that you don't find a dry edge anywhere. Also, notice how he's going around his wheel wells. You know, as he's doing each panel, he's going around and getting all those edges. And sorry for this being so shaky right here. I was trying to get it adjusted and get everything. The bad thing about those GoPros is you kind of aim it at it, but you can't really see what you're focusing on. So some of this may be a little bit out of focus. But he's going to just follow that panel. Once you start, just keep that going, you know, the direction you're going. Just keep that wet edge going the whole time. Stay on that wet edge and keep on going. Now, I'm not doing any flash times, but we did allow that to flash the recommended time, and you want to be sure and allow the flash times. You can look on your technical data sheet to see what that is. And now he is spraying the waterborne base coat. Now this is a little bit different on the overlap. You overlap a little bit more. You overlap 75% as opposed to the 50%. So now he's going around the car with a 75% overlap, you know, putting on nice even coats. And one thing that's kind of helped me, and it's helped students that I have mentioned this to, is I got this from John Kalsmosky, or I can't remember how you say his last name, but the House of Color guy, you know, the guy that the older guy that came out with House of Color. And he really says something, you know, in one of his videos that clicks to me. He keeps talking about think like a robot, you know, think like a robot. And that really is true. If you think about it, you know, a robot is going to do the exact same pass every time, same speed, same distance, and then it's going to shift with the overlap, you know, the perfect amount, and do it again. So when you're spraying, try it, seriously. The next time you're spraying, think of like a robot, man. You know, do that pass nice, even, do the correct overlap, and come back. If you can do that exactly the same, accurately every time, you'll be a good painter. But it takes time, you know, like I was talking about, the muscle memory and things like that. And especially, you know, white's a great color. It doesn't show a lot of the imperfections, dirt and dents like maybe black or some of your darker colors. You know, it doesn't have metallic that you have to worry about. But actually spraying white is one of the hardest colors to spray. I mean, once you get the first coat of sealer or base coat on there, you really cannot see white go on too good. It does really kind of, you got to start depending on your skill and things like that, because you can't really see it. So I've always had more trouble painting white for that reason. But really, once you get to painting, you really don't have to think about it. You know, you remember when you started driving a car, you know, you had to really think about every little thing. You know, even if you're centered in the road, or if you're in the lane right, and you know, all that stuff. But as you do it over and over and over, I mean, you really don't think about it anymore. I mean, maybe you come in an unfamiliar area, city or something, and you have to think about, but your regular routine, you know, it's just it just becomes part of you. I mean, it becomes easy. And painting is the same way. You know, it just becomes a skill. Now, the gun we're using here is a DeVelvis Technic gun series, and this is really a good gun, especially if you're a SATA person. Maybe a little bit more similar to that than the Awada, but it sprays really nice, and it's kind of a medium, you know, price range. It's kind of in the middle. You know, it's not near as expensive as some of the Awadas and SATAs, but you know, it's not a real cheap gun either. You know, I'd have to look it up. I'll try to put a link to this spray gun down below for the exact price, but I'm thinking it's around $400, which, you know, DIY, that might sound a little bit expensive, but if you're spraying all the time, I mean, this is a gun on the people on my advisory board, and a lot of people, you know, professionals really like this gun. This is what a lot of them are using. So, you know, if you're someone serious about spraying, this might be something to think about if you're not wanting to spend, you know, $600, $700, $800, you know, up to $1,000 on like a Nawada or SATA or something like that. But it really sprays good, and a lot of the students like the gun. So if you can go around this car and, you know, with the same speed, same distance, and just do the same thing over, you know, for several coats. You know, you got the one primer sealer, you got the base coat and clear coat, which clear coat you spray a little bit different. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But if you can just get real consistent with your speed and distance and your overlap, you can really be a good painter. I mean, that's all it takes. And it does take some practice. I mean, I'm not going to say that you can, you know, paint your first car and not have a run or a dry spot. I mean, it's going to happen. You know, even painters that's been out there for years, sometimes they get runs. You know, maybe you're trying to hurry, or just, you know, things happen. But usually, when you get to spraying, if you're spraying a lot, you'll get to where you can really spray very consistent and not really have too many problems. So he's going around, and another thing I want to mention with this waterborne um, is it takes air movement to dry. Unlike solvent, it's just more time, temperature and time. But this waterborne takes air, and I don't show it in the video. I didn't. This video is already pretty long, but in between these coats, we got an air gun that will blow on the surface just to help flash it off. Now, on a complete, it's not going to take near as much because time you finish a coat, the hood, where you're going to start again, you can start the exact same every time. It's already had a little bit of time to dry, but if you're using waterborne, it is going to take some type of air movement. So, and again, I apologize for this video being shaky. But you can pick these up, these waterborne air dryers. They're not very expensive, and if I was a DIY, I would probably just use solvents, but there are a lot of advantages to the waterborne. There's pros and cons. Something I like about waterborne, their color matches are very, very good. A lot better than the solvents were. So if you're, painting one panel, you have a lot better chance of that matching. But if it doesn't match, you can still blend and things like that, like you can with solvent. But with any products, I encourage you to really read the technical data sheet before you use them, especially if you're a DIY or someone that doesn't paint that much, or maybe you're using a different brand than you're used to, because every brand's different. PPG is going to be, have a few different things you do than a DuPont or a Sherwin-Williams or any of those other brands. So be sure and read those technical data sheets. And you should be able to pick those up wherever you get your paint. If you ask for the technical data sheet for something, the paint jobber or automotive paint store that you're using, they can supply you with that. And there's really some useful information. Everything from setting up your gun to overlap, all the things that I'm talking about, your flash times. You can get all that off that technical data sheet. Don't mix that up with the MSDS material safety data sheet, because that talks more about the hazards, the flame point, or the flammability and all that, flash points. That's not quite as useful as far as using the product. I mean, it's some things you might want to know about the product, but it doesn't really explain how to apply it and how to prep to spray the product and things like that. So he is getting around with his second coat here, base coat. This will be the final coat. And, to do this type of work, you are going to have to bend over to get the rockers and things like that. You've got to make that paint wrap around everything. You've got to have the right gun angle. Cars are not boxes or just flat panels. So make sure that the gun angle, is correct. And he's really picked it up good. This car turned out really nice. Didn't have any dirt, no runs. I mean, it really turned out sharp when he gets done. So he's going around it, and this seems like a lot of work, because you do end up going around that car quite a few times. And I'm not talking about just painting. I mean, you go around it when you're sanding and you're prepping, then you go around it when you're washing. You're going to wash it a couple times. You got to use wax and grease remover to go around it. Wipe it all down, tack it off. So, there's a lot of work involved with this. But, whenever you can step back and see that end result, that's where the satisfaction comes from. It is, such an awesome feeling to be able to step back and see, something that you did like that. Even if you have mistakes or you might have a run, I mean, runs, you can repair runs, dry, you can sand and buff, but the important thing is just to get out there and practice. You're going to have to practice for this skill. I mean, you're not going to be perfect the first time. Anything you do, like I was talking about that muscle memory, it just takes a certain amount of time welding. If you're a welder, you got to build up that muscle memory and do it over and over and over. And I tell a story like this to students that kind of help them understand some of the things like welding or spraying, because they just want to get out there and want to have instant results, because that's kind of, there's a lot of instant results today. But you can't really rush this. I talk about baseball. Whenever my boys was in little league, they would get out there and practice, and they would practice how to throw balls, practice how to bat, practice how to swing and catch, all that. Well, when they go up a level, they're practicing the same thing, and whenever they get in high school, they're still practicing the exact same thing. And when you become pro, if you ever watch a pro game, the outfielders are out there playing catch with each other, the infielders are throwing the ball to each other, the pitchers, warming up, pitching. They're doing the exact same thing, maybe additional few things, but kind of doing the same thing that's doing in Little League, just practicing throwing, catching, and batting. Well, this is no different. I mean, just because you can never really become good enough. It takes a lot of practice, and if you ever think that you have no room for improvement, you just limited yourself to becoming better. There's always a improvement, and just like those pro baseball teams, they don't say, well, I already know how to bat a ball, swing a bat, I already know how to catch, I already know how to throw, pitch, whatever. No, they're out there doing it over and over and over. And this is the same way. Anytime you get the opportunity to do some welding or some spraying, you need to take that opportunity to do that and just be able to learn better. So anyway, he is putting some clear coat on now. This is the first coat of clear coat. Now, I told you I was going to tell you something about clear coat. First, we're using a little different gun. This is an Awada Supernova, and we use a dedicated gun for clear coat. And the reason that we do that is because we like to use a gun that only shoots clear. Because if you have a gun, you can do it. Especially if DIY out there, you need to clean your gun, of course, real good. But let's say you did have a little bit of paint left in there, from previous jobs. Maybe some black paint was sprayed in there. If that shot out in the clear, you'd see those black specks and just make a mess. I mean, just ruin your paint job. So we like to have a dedicated gun just for clear coat, so something like that doesn't happen. And it has happened to me, spraying first, second coat of clear and have some color shoot out on there, and it just looks horrible. So anyway, he is going around with this first coat, and most brands, I know with PPG, the Enviro Base and all that, you're going to put on full wet. The base coat you didn't want to put on real wet is a medium wet, but now it's time to slow down. Might narrow your pattern just a little bit and follow all the recommendations on the technical data sheet as far as the air pressure, and distance and all that. But I also like to narrow the pattern a little bit just to make it a little bit wetter coat, because the clear coat, that's where you want all the protection from. You want the clear coat to build mills, paint thickness, because that's your UV protection. And I try to talk about it like a gift. If you wrapped a gift in gift wrapping paper, it's real thin. I mean, it's got all the cool colors and it looks neat and everything, but if you ship that, probably that thing is going to get tore up because it's thin. Well, if you took some plexiglass or something like that and put that around there, built a case for it, you could still see the fancy wrapping paper, but it's got that plexiglass protecting around it. Now, if you shipped it, it's not going to damage that paper. So that's kind of like how I like to explain clear coat. This is what protects the car. This is what you do want the mills. You want the paint thickness built up during the clear coat, and that way you'll protect the car, and you'll also UV protection. This is where all your protection from the sun and things like that come from. So this clear coat is a 50% overlap. It's a solvent clear, so you're going to follow the 50% rule. And if you're starting out, I would say 8, maybe 9 inches away from the surface. As you become comfortable, you can get a little closer. But remember, if you get closer, you're going to have to move faster. If you're further away, you're going to have to move further back. So just getting all those techniques down, all together at the same time, it's just going to take a little bit of practice. But he's, got this down, and it's looking really, really awesome. So remember, just like I mentioned, just think like a robot. Do the exact same thing every time. Also notice he's going around getting his edges first, especially with clear coat. This is important. Um, or any coating like your metallics, because he can go around and get his edges, and now he can come back with nice, even, steady passes, and you don't have the overspray from the edges. When you're spraying the edges, you might have some weird overspray kind of land on those panels, and it doesn't blend or melt in quite like it should. So yeah, I always recommend to do your edges first, kind of go around your edges, and then do the flat surface. So now he's getting all the hood. And again, if this car had a roof, we'd be doing the roof the first every coat. Nice even coats. Think like a robot, just like John mentions from House of Color. Do the exact same thing. Be consistent. Think like a robot every single pass. And really, I thought that was kind of funny whenever I first heard it. It kind of made sense to me. But I actually tried it and had some students try it, and it helped. If you think that in your mind when you're spraying, I mean, he was right. It really does help. Makes you think about it a little bit more, and makes you think to be very, very consistent. Do the exact same thing each pass, each panel. And I know this is kind of a long video, kind of going through the process, but I want to do one for you members, just kind of going through a complete paint job. The primer, sealer, base coat, and clear. And this is regular speed. I've got some on YouTube that we do a complete, but it's kind of fast motion, and you can't really see his speed that he's using, his distance, and the technique. And I know I'm cutting some of this out. Didn't do that by purpose though. So he's going around those edges, getting all that, and then he can do the complete panel where he can do complete passes. And that's another thing. Whenever you're painting, do the entire panel. Don't stop or act like you're rattle canning it. Doing little spots at a time. Go down the entire panel. Now there are some painters out there that like to go past the body lines and meet there, but we've always had pretty good luck just each panel at a time. But the important thing is just not to sit there and try to, what I call it is like rattle can spraying, where you're just going back and forth real fast. Do the entire panel. Now this will involve some practice and some skill, especially like on a truck bed or something that you can't reach. You'll kind of have to learn how to walk. You kind of put one foot behind the other and then step out, and that way you can keep your hand steady and keep that robot action, that same speed, same distance going. It takes a little practice, but like I said, when you get it down, your arm might get tired. You'll be switching from left or right, as you're going with it, without ever missing a pass or anything like that. So, man, we've almost got this car painted. It's just about on the last panel, the door right there, and he's gonna be done. And this car turned out, we got it unmasked. And it looks absolutely wonderful. Did a terrific job. Like I said, he didn't really get any dirt, didn't get any runs, didn't have to buff it or anything. So, and all that good comes from good prep, cleaning the booth, cleaning your hose, tacking it off, all those steps. So anyway, he's about got this door painted. The only thing I'd like to just to reinforce one more time, read your technical data sheets to get the correct flash times and things like that, and don't go in there blind, if you're not real familiar with the product. Anyway, I do appreciate you for watching this video. I know it was long, and we'll see you in the next video. If you like this video, then be sure and subscribe and help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers. And also click the bell to get notified of new videos.